One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
The commercial you just saw was when MTV was launched. That was the first intro to MTV. And then as time went on, every hour on the hour they would play that same thing, and they would tell you what videos would come on. MTV was influential in my life. I discovered MTV around 1983, 1984, and I was hooked. It changed the trajectory of music. Before MTV, you would listen to the radio, and you could go into the record stores and look at all the records, but there was never any visual to the music. So when MTV came along, you had a visual, and you were introduced to not what was on pop radio, but you were introduced to country music, you were introduced to pop music, R&B music, techno, and they played Prince, they played Rod Stewart, they played Bryan Adams, Def Leppard, Bon Jovi, and that's where I discovered a lot of those bands, and I was an avid MTV watcher. How it changed my life is I wanted to work in music, and from 1991 to 1999 I worked at Camelot Music, which now the kids know it as FYE. Back in the day, they would sell CDs, vinyl, cassette tapes. They didn't have, where you could buy just one song. You had to buy the whole entire album. So I worked in music, and I wanted to continue to work in music from 1991 to 1990, till I wanted that to be my career, but unfortunately Camelot Music got bought out. Even actually, they used to have a video segment where you could write in a trivia question, and I wrote in a question, and my question, and it got read on the air. Martha Quinn was one of the VJs that was on MTV, one of the original ones, and she read my question, and my question was, John Waite used to play in a band before going solo, and what was that band? And it was the Babies. That right there was fun to see. I wish I would have had a tape of that. I think I had like a VHS tape of that at one point, but I don't know what happened to it. Also discovered other music that you wouldn't discover, or find it just listening to the radio. There's a lot of bands out there back in the 80s that were, like they didn't get the credit they deserved. One of my favorite records, and I still listen to it this day. I still have a CD player in my car, is a band called Marillion, Misplaced Childhood. I love that record. I was a huge Def Leppard fan, still am to this day, love Def Leppard. Pyromania is one of the greatest records of all time, and I loved Def Leppard. And I remember growing up, I would be upstairs in my room getting ready for school, and my mom would be downstairs getting ready for work in front of the TV, and every time Def Leppard would come on MTV, she'd stand at the bottom of the steps and yell, "Lisa, Def Leppard's on!" And I would run downstairs and watch the video, and then run back upstairs and finish getting ready. I love Def Leppard, an amazing record that I would have never discovered if I wouldn't have saw them on MTV. So back in the 80s, we would go to a lot of concerts, and working at Camelot, I met a lot of celebrities through work. A lot of you probably don't know these celebrities. I've met Bryan Adams. Bryan Adams, this is his guitar, and he signed it. I met him in Detroit. I went with some Camelot people, and we got like the special VIP treatment. I've met Iron Maiden. I've met Steve Stevens, who is a great guitar player. Vince Neil of Motley Crue came into the office. Travis Tritt. Stevie Ray Vaughan came in before he died. David Coverdale, Richard Marx. They would just come through the Camelot offices, and we would go to listening parties, like when the records were come out. I don't know if you know of a band called Slaughter. They were an 80s hair band. We got to go to this restaurant in Cleveland. It was called Lucia's, and it was a Mexican restaurant that all the listening parties happened at. So we got to go to that, and I met a lot of celebrities. The music industry is amazing. It was a great experience.